How you doing there? What time is it? Ooh-ah, 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 ooh-ah. Whoa. Well, I hope there's enough time. Well, all I can do is start, I guess. Al Koponim. So we have a page to do. Okay, here's the deal about Daf Pei Gimel. Okay, how you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we send Daf Pei Gimel, Daf 83 of Masechet BavaKama, friends. Okay, okay, here's the thing. The first Talmud is not so hard. Okay, then we get to Perek HaChovel. I don't think it's going to be an hour daf today. I think we're probably looking at 45 minutes, I think. Okay, Perek HaChovel. We're starting today Perek HaChovel on the second Amud. Starting today Perek HaChovel. Talks about the fight, right? Nezek, Tsar, Ripur, Sheves, Boshes. A lot of like Sanhedrin kind of stuff here. These pages are kind of big, actually. They're not easy. They're not overly difficult, I think, but they are kind of big. So, anyways, this is where we're at. Okay, we're going to start in Daf Pei Beis Amud Beis all the way at the bottom, last line of the page. V'chochmas yivonus mi asira. Right? We said at the end of the daf yesterday that Greek wisdom is no good. Right? We said Orura adam shilamen is b'no chochmas yivonus. Cursed is the fellow who teaches his yingle Greek wisdom. But is Greek wisdom so bad? V'chochmas yivonus mi asira. Is Greek wisdom really forbidden? V'atani, but we learn it by. So Amar Rebbe says Rebbe be'eretz Yisrael. Lashon Sursi Lama. In Eretz Yisrael, why do you have to speak Lashon Sursi? I live in Eretz Yisrael, I don't speak Lashon Sursi. O Lashon Kodesh, O Lashon Yavanis. In Eretz Yisrael, either speak Lashon Kodesh or speak Greek. What about English? Should I stop speaking English? What should I do? Should I teach the rest of the daf? Should I do the rest of the daf in Lashon Kodesh? I don't know Greek. Should I do the rest of the daf in Lashon Kodesh? You want to hear me speak Hebrew? You think I can do it? Oy vavoy. You want to hear my Hebrew? Oy vavoy. Should I teach the rest of the daf in Hebrew? If I taught would the people at Babylon Talmud understand it? Is it where's oh man, you want to hear me speak Hebrew? What should I do? Should I speak Hebrew? Should I do to the two dots in Hebrew? we could see me stumble around in Hebrew. Okay, I mean, so Rebbe says that in Eretz Yisrael you speak Lashon Kodesh or Greek. I don't know Greek, so should I speak Lashon Kodesh? All right, let's try it out. Here we go. Be'eretz Yisrael, Lashon Sursi Lama, O Lashon Kodesh, O Lashon Yavanis. I guess doing it in Hebrew is basically just reading it, right? V'amr b'yesi, Bavel, as agos v'tzienim magia kan, shecholim le'agid kan Rabbi Yosef, b'mkom Rabbi Yosi. אוקיי, אז נגיד את זה. אבל למה רבי יוסף? למה לא רבי יוסי? אז מה נעשה? זהו, אוקיי, אז רבי יוסי. אוקיי. ואמר רבי יוסי, מן הסתם זה רבי יוסף בגלל שהוא היה בבבל. רבי יוסי היה בארץ ישראל. אוקיי. אז ואמר רבי יוסף, רבי יוסף hat gesagt, זה יידיש. בבל Lashon Arami, למה אנחנו צריכים בבבל Lashon Arami, כמו שאומרים באנגלית, Aramaic, או Lashon Kodesh, או Lashon Parsi, או Lashon Kodesh, או Lashon Parsi. Okay, well, it's Hebrew into Hebrew, what do you want me to tell you? Okay, אז מה השיילה? השיילה זה שאנחנו אמרנו שאסור ללמד לבן שלך חוכמס יבונס, אבל כאן רבי אומר שבארץ ישראל אפשר לדבר בלשון יווני. אז מה? אז מתרצת הגמורה, אז לשון יווני לחוד ולשון יווני לחוד, חוכמס יווניס לחוד. אז זה צווי אנדרה זכן. יש את המושג של לשון יווני, ומשהו אחר שנקראת חוכמס יווניס. חוכמס יווניס זה אסור, לשון יווני בסדר. וחוכמס יווניס מי אסירה, אבל בכל אופן, אפילו חוכמס יווניס זה בעיה. ואומר רב יהודה משמואל, משום רב שמעון בן גמליאל, אבל אומר רב יהודה משמואל, משום רב שמעון בן גמליאל, איני עולה לנפשי מכל בנו סירי. I don't need to translate it because I'm doing it in Hebrew. Haha. Elef Yeladim, wow, it's probably much easier. I should just, you know what? Babylon Talmud would go so much faster if I just did it in Hebrew. I just don't need to stop. I just read it. Elef Yeladim ayu bebeis Abba. Okay, אז במשפחה של האבא שלי היו 1,000 ילדים, מה אני אגיד לך? 500 מהם למדו תורה, 500 למדו חוכמס יווניס, ומתוך 1,000 האלה, אז 500 מהם למדו תורה, ו500 מהם למדו חוכמס יווניס. אז כאן אנחנו רואים שבבייס של רב שמעון בן גמליאל, שהוא היה האבא של רבי והבן של רבי בן גמליאל, אז כשהוא אומר בבייס אבא, זה אומר במשפחה של האבא של רבי בן גמליאל. אוקיי, ולא נשתיים מהם, ומה שנשאר מהם, whatever's left from them, אלא אני כאן ובן אחי אבא באסיה. זה אני כאן ובן אחי אבא באסיה, בן האח של אבא שלי באסיה. אוקיי, נו, אז כאן אנחנו רואים שכן יכולים ללמוד חוכמס יווניס. זה אמרי שייני בייס רבי גמליאל שהיו קרובים למלכוס. אז המשפחה של רבי גמליאל, אל תשאלו מהם כי הם היו קרובים למלכוס, הם היו יכולים ללמוד חוכמס יווניס. אוקיי? וכדתניא, כמו שאנחנו לומדים בברייסה, המספר קומי, הרי זה מדרכי מוירי. זה תספורת, איזשהו תספורת שזה מדרכי מוירי. אל תסתפרו ככה. אוקיי? אבתומוס בר ראובן, התירו לו לספר קומי. אבל היה יוצא מן הכלל, שזה היה אבתומוס בן ראובן, שהיה מותר לו לספר קומי. מפני שהוא קרוב למלכות, בגלל שהוא קרוב למלכות, של בייס רבי גמליאל התירו להם לספר בחוכמס יווניס, והמשפחה של רבי גמליאל היה מותר להם לספר בחוכמס יווניס, מפני שקרוב למלכות, בגלל שהם דווקא קרובים למלכות. אבל כל האנשים האחרים, האנשים הרגילים כמוני, אי אפשר ללמוד חוכמס יווניס. Friends, now you're going to appreciate the English. Okay, boy, what can I do? Rebbe said in Eretz Yisrael, he didn't say you speak English in Eretz Yisrael. That's what I'm going to do. He's talking about speaking Lashon Kodesh in Eretz Yisrael. I'm just going to speak in English. We're going to go weiter in English. But again, it was so much easier to teach, to do it in Hebrew. You just basically read it. Alright. Don't raise a dog unless it's tied up with iron chains. Unless it's tied up with chains. Did it say iron chains or just regular chains? Where's the... you kosher b'shalshelis. So you have to... If you have a hunt, you need to tie it up with chains. Okay. Taner Rabbanan. You can only raise a hunt if it's tied up with chains. But you can raise a hunt if you live in the boondocks, out by the borders. V'kosher bayom, and you tie up the hunt during the day, matir balayla, and you can let it out. I guess unchain it at night. Tanya, within a brayse, Rebbe Eliezer Agadol Omer, it says Rebbe Eliezer Agadol Magadol Klovim A fellow raises a hunt, it's like he raises a hog. What's an afkamina? Right? We had said at the end of the daf yesterday that cursed is a fellow who raises a hog. So if we say raising a hunt is like raising a hog, so just like raising a hog is a kois, so oichit a hunt. Amr of Yosef by Manyomi, Amr of Nachman, Bavel ki iras muchel svar domi tirkman ardoya. Okay, Bavel is considered like these cities on the boondocks, and we said specifically, I guess, Nardo, and I guess you could raise a hunt in Nardo. Darish Reb Dostoi Darshan Dimin Beiri. Beiri all of a sudden takes on a whole new meaning after Kibbutz Beiri. Uvnucha Yom HaShuv Hashem Mivvos Alpha Yisrael, that when the Torah would rest, it would come back, Hashem, the Rivivos are two, right, Rivava is 10,000, so 20,000, multiple, 20,000, Alpha, Elef is 1,000, plural is 2,000, 22,000. Yisrael. Lamed chashein shchina shayre al Yisrael pochus mishne alafim v'shnei revavos, that the divine presence only rests upon Israel if there are at least 22,000 Yidden. So now you have to read this with the Gos Abach. It says Aresh Ayir Yisrael shnei alafim v'shnei revavos chaser echad. Now what if the Yidden were 21,000, 999? Is that the right math? Like 22,000 minus 1, whatever that number is. So, V'haisa Isha Mu'beres Benem. But among the 22,000 minus 1, there was a pregnant fella, V'ruya Lahashlim. And she had, everybody's, she had the solution. She was going to give birth to the 22,000th. V'novach bo kelev, but then comes a hunt, and barks and scares her, the pila, and she miscarries. This hunt is responsible that that the divine presence will not rest among the Yidden. There was a fella who went to bake. Who knows what to bake? I'll tell you. You want to know something? 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 My cousin just stopped by a few hours ago, and she brought me some baked goods. Taka, it worked out this time because she called. It worked out this time because she called me. You know what happened the last time she brought baked goods? You know what? You can probably guess what happened. I was home. She came to bring me baked goods. She knocked on the door. I ignored it. And I only found out later that she left me baked goods and I should go outside and pick them up. But this time she was smart. She called. Oops. Alright, so I have baked goods now. So anyways, so it's the Alas Lemefa Bau Besa. So there was right. So this fellow went to bake in somebody's house. Novach Bakalba, and then the hunt barked. Omar Lo Mare. So the owner of the hunt says, Lo tistafe mine shakulenive. Don't worry, he doesn't bite. Amra Lei, she says to him, Shkili tivusech, take your goodness, v'shadya achizre, and throw it on the thorns. Kvar not valad, the fetus has already moved. Alright. In Parson Nishvin Leonim v'chulei. Oh yeah, I don't really understand this next part. It's like really technical. We don't spread out like nets for like doves. Okay. So we said that you have to distance them, what was it, 4 mil? But do they fly that far? But we learned in the Mishnah, that a dove coat, I guess if you're going to like put people's grains in like dove coats or something like that, so you have to put them 50 amos away from the city, because that, I guess the point is that the doves won't fly that far. So it's only 50 amos. What's 4 mil? That's a lot more. So Rabbi says, they can fly far. Karsai b'chamishim ama malya, but they fill up their stomachs at 50 amas, so like you don't really have to be concerned about them like eating stuff more than that. Okay. B'chishim ama malya. Umeshit shloshim ris v'sulo. But now the Gemara says, okay, so now they're only going to fly 30 ris, which is 4 mil, and that's it. V'atani b'u'lin abayse b'yishuv afilu meya mil lo yifros. But if you're, I don't know, if in some like populated area, so then I don't remember, like don't put out like nets or something because you're going to like capture like people's birds or whatever. And that's even 100 mil, not just 4 mil. So Rav Yosef Amar b'yishuv kromim. So Rav Yosef says it's talking about in a yishuv of like vineyards. So there's like continual like vines for them to like jump to, I think. Rabbi Amar b'yishuv shovchin. Rabbi says that there's a bunch of like dovecotes, so they can like go from one dovecote to the next or something. That's why they can go so far. But typically mishum shovchin gufayu. Why don't you say that it's a problem? Not necessarily because of 100 mil, but because of like the shovachs themselves. That like I guess you put out these nets. You're going to be, I guess, taking birds from like these dovecotes that are there already. I don't know. I don't really remember. So Ibai saying with the Ovi Kochavim, well, you could say that the dovecotes belong to Ovi Kochavim, so there isn't any issue of like taking from them. Ibai saying with the Hefker, or their Hefker, so there's no problem of taking from them. Ibai saying with B'didei, or they're his, so there's no problem of taking from them. Okay. Yeah. Alright. What is it? I don't really know what that means. Should I look it up? I don't really want to. Maybe I'll look it up. 1 second. I think maybe it's saying that like within 100 mil, then like the issue isn't that that like you're gonna take other people. I don't know. 100 mil because they might like belong to other people, but then just say because of the shovachs. I don't know, friends. What's going on? I don't know. Something to do with like what are we even saying? So like you gotta put the nets like 4 mil because then they won't. They're only going to fly further if they have like shovachs to go onto. But I guess then they won't go further than like those. And the shovachs, there's no problem. And those like, I guess, are like your shovachs. But then I guess you won't get further than, so I guess so you're saying put your own nets further away from the shovachs because then they won't get that far. But other than that, then they'll get that far. But, so it's not a matter of distance, but then you could say that I guess if they're those dovecotes belong to other people, so don't bring them closer than that, not because then they'll belong to other people, like that they'll fly that far, but just say, well, because there's dovecotes there. We say, yeah, well, maybe you own those dovecotes. So then, if you own those dovecotes, so then you put it further away, so there won't be any issues of those dovecotes, and then you could put nets out there. And then I guess maybe other people's birds. Dude, I don't know. Alright, if somebody wants to explain this and like put it in WhatsApp, like, I don't know what this is talking about. Okay, friends, now we get to Pei Gimel Amud Beis, the Mishnah. Pei Gimel Beis, we start the new parak, the 8th parak, 8 out of 10. The 8th parak of Masechta BavaKama, Achovo B'Achveiro. A fellow, what time is it? Okay, so far I'm okay. Achovo B'Achveiro. A fellow damages his fellow. Chayv olav mishum chamisha dvarim. He's liable for 5 things. Benezek, for the oh my god, this is a whole thing. Okay, nezek. Okay, I think we've touched upon these things. I think sort of superficially, but now this is where we discuss them. So benezek, damages, bitsar, pain, beripoi. Hospital bills, medical bills. B'sheves, the fact that he can't work. Uvoshes, an embarrassment. B'nezek ketzad, okay. So what's nezek? So simes eino, if you plop out his eye. Kitei es yado, or if you plop off his hand. Shiber es raglo, or break his leg. So what's interesting about breaking a leg as opposed to like plopping out an eye is permanent. I think the point is that, I don't know the point, but like breaking a leg I think is different because breaking a leg, ultimately you're going to heal, right? So I hope so. So Rowan also ki'iluhu eved nimker bashuk. So we view him as if he is a eved being sold in the market. V'shamin kamahoyu yafe v'kamahu yafe. So how do you evaluate nezek, the damages? So you basically evaluate what was his value. If you had to sell the fellow as an eved in the shuk, what would his value have been prior to the injury, and what is his value now? And that is what you pay. So what's interesting is that So I understand the plopping out of the eye, so how much would an Eved be worth with 2 eyes, and how much would an Eved be worth with 1 eye? It's a permanent injury. What's interesting about breaking the leg is that it's not a permanent injury, right? In 2 months from now, his leg will be unbroken, will be healed, and he'll be a perfectly strong fellow. He could work just as well as he could have worked beforehand, which is interesting. Yeah, I think maybe the Gemara talks about it in the future, but I guess still, like imagine like a fellow is going to purchase an Eved, and here he is with crutches. So I don't know. So I guess maybe that. I mean, I can imagine that he's probably going to lose a few points. So maybe that's the point. So ultimately, so plopping out an eye is permanent. So okay, that's going to be taken into account. The fact that he has crutches right now, it's probably not ideal. You're probably not going to, I imagine maybe that can affect the price. So maybe that's, so even a broken leg, still you can evaluate, how would a broken leg be factored into a person's value? I guess I don't know. But anyways, that is how nezek is calculated, right? We evaluate how much was the value if he was to be sold as an Eved prior to the injury versus post the injury. Okay. Tsar. How do you evaluate pure pain? Right? Just the pain aspect. So kvo b'shvud o b'masmer, if you burn a fellow, if you take a hot skewer and just burn a fellow, not in a way that creates a wound or anything like that, it's just pain. O b'masmer, or a hot nail or something. Even on his fingernail, doesn't make a wound or anything like that. It's just purely painful. So we figure out, okay, how much would a person be willing to, if you say, how much would I have to pay you in order to experience this pain? So I guess that's how you evaluate, just the pain aspect. Ripui. When it comes to hospital bills, hiko chayv l'raposo. Well, if a fellow injures somebody and he requires medical attention, so the injuring party needs to pay for that. If the injured party got sore, right, the wound got sores on it. Imach masamake chayv. So if the sores were because of the wound, well, then the inflictor is going to be chayiv. Shalomach masamake. But if he just got sores because he just got sores, well then potter. So then the injured party, no, then the inflictor is going to be potter. Chaysa v'nistra, if it healed, but then it became no good again. Chaysa v'nistra, if it healed, then became no good again. Chayiv liraposo. So the injurer, the inflictor, is going to be chayiv still to pay for the medical bills. Chaysa kol tzorke, if it completely healed, well then enu chayiv l'raposa, right? The inflictor is not going to be chayiv to pay for the damaged part, for the injured party's medical bills for the rest of his life. Once the injury has been healed, it's been healed, and they go on with their lives. Shevis, when it comes to so shevis is an interesting one. So sheves, right, the fact that he can't work, roin also ki'ilu hu shomer kishuin shekvar nosen lo dmei yodav v'dmei raglo. So we pay minimum wage, basically, right? We pay him as if he was a cucumber watchman, because we already paid him, right? So, for example, if you plopped out his eye, so now, so the truth is, okay, fine. Plop out his eye, all right? How about this? Plopped off his hand. So he plopped off his hand. So on the one hand, you could say, look, this guy is what does he do? He's a farmer. A farmer without a hand. He can't be a farmer anymore, right? So meaning on the one hand, you could say, or no, let's not say this. Right, he had some high-paying job that required both of his hands, right? So you could say, sheves, you have to pay him for the fact that he's not able to go to his regular work, so you should have to pay him his regular salary, right? Wrong. You pay minimum wage. Now, the fact that what about the fact that he's not making a salary during that time? Well, that was included in the nezek, right? Meaning we already talked about nezek, right? You paid him, what was his value prior to the injury? What's his value post to the injury? Well, prior to the injury, he was a person who who had the earning power, he had these skills, he was employed, right? This is a person who has sort of, who has a very high value. And now he doesn't have that anymore. So you're already paying him for that, right? That value has already been accounted for. So now all that needs to be accounted for is the fact that, he's, sitting in a hospital bed and he's not working. Well, he can at least, even post the injury, still be doing minimum wage stuff. So the shevis is purely minimum wage, right? The fact that he can no longer be doing his job is covered in the nezek. Okay. Because meaning if you have to pay for the nezek and you're also still paying him his regular salary, right? That's kind of overkill. Okay. So shevis or also kilu shomikshun shekvanosno dmei yodo udmei raglo, exactly, because you already gave him the value of his hand or the value of his leg. Boshes, and when it comes to humiliation, hakol v'amivayish v'amizbayis. Well, it's all relative to the person who got embarrassed, right? Some people are more easily embarrassed, or maybe if they're a very respectable person, right? Maybe the embarrassment is more significant. Some people, they don't get as embarrassed. So it depends on who did the embarrassing, right? Was it just was it a schnook who embarrassed a very honorable person? Was an honorable person who embarrassed a schnook? Right? Who was the embarrasser? Who was the embarrassee? So we take these things into account. Says the Gemara, Amai. How come we're talking about money over here? Right? A guy plops off somebody's hand, and we say, all right, just give him some money. Give him some money. Ho, no way. I want a hand. I want a hand. I want a hand. Shimon plopped off Reuven's hand. I want Shimon's hand. Money? Where are you getting this idea of money from? Amai. Ayin tachas ayin amar Rachmana. An eye for an eye. Like that fellow Hammurabi. Ema ayin mamish. I'll say, Poshid, give me an eye. Lo sagadaitich nisht. The Tanya is within the Brisa. Yochel simei es eno, misami es eno. Is it possible that if he plopped out his eye, we plop out his eye? Kitei es yado, he plopped off his hand. Mikatei es yado, we plop off his hand. Shiber es raglo, he broke his leg. Mishaber es raglo, he break his leg. Tamlomer maka odom umaka behema. We're going to have to explain in a second where does it say Maka Adam, Maka Behema, okay? But it talks about striking a fellow and striking an animal. Maka Behema, the Tashlumin, just like when you strike an animal, we're talking about payment. Af Maka Adam, the Tashlumin, also when striking a fellow, we're talking about payment. And therefore, we're not going to plop out his eye. He's just going to pay money. And if you have a problem with that suggestion, I'll give you a different suggestion. The pasuk says, "Lo sikhu kofer lenefesh rotzeach asheru rosh halamus." Now the pasuk says that if a fellow murders another fellow, so the murderer gets murdered, gets killed, right? It's chayv saif. I think we plop off his head with a sword. I think. So a murderer gets killed, and there's no paying his way out of it. Right? It says, Lo sikhu kofer. You can't take a payment. L'nefesh rotzeach asher rosh halamus. He's got to die. L'nefesh rotzeach yata lokeach kofer. You don't take payment. You don't accept payment for a murderer. Aval ata lokeach kofer l'rosh eivarim she'enon chosen. But we do take payment for limbs, for body parts that don't come back. For example, plopping out an eye. You can accept payment for that. We don't have to plop out the plopper's eye. Now, hey Mako, right? When we say Make Adam, Make Behema, tell me more. Where does it say Make Adam, Make Behema? Ilema Make Behema Yishameno Umake Adam Yumas da 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 da. If, well, the pasuk says, Make behema yishal mena. If you smite an animal, you shall pay, and if you smite a fellow, you shall die. How biktoliksiv? That's talking about death. That's the right killing. That's not talking about plopping eyes. Elo me'achal. Rather from here, Make nefesh behema yishal mena nefesh tachas nefesh. That if a fellow smites an animal, so I guess you pay. V'samachlein, it says afterwards, v'ish ki yitein mum. Right, so it says Make. Okay, so it says, and then it says vishkiten mum. This is a little bit weird, this next few lines, but vishkiten mum ba'amito, and it says right after that, a fellow gives a blemish to his friend. Kasher also can you also just like he did, so will be done to him. And in the first pasuk it says yishalmena tashlumin, money. So also in the second pasuk by the fellow we're talking about money. Haylav make hu. Okay, which the Gemara says wait, but the second pasuk doesn't say make, it says mum. It doesn't say make. So the Gemara says, Haka kaminan. Interesting. We're making a gzeira shava between the two psukim. Even though this one right after the other, we're making a gzeira shava. And Rashi explains, you might think that, but still, what gzeira shava? It says Make in the first pasuk. It doesn't say Make in the second pasuk, right? Don't you have to have the same word? So Rashi points out that there, right, as we've seen before, right, what's that pasuk? No. Where's the pasuk I'm looking for? V'shava koin uva koin. Right, we use that for Gzeir Shava, even though it's two different words. I guess if right there are scenarios where similar words can be used for Gzeir Shava. Okay, so we're saying it's Taka Gzeir Shava. Haka. Where am I? Right, Haka Kamina. Haka Amura bebehem l'tashlumin. Just like by an animal, we're talking about payment. Haka Amura be'adam l'tashlumin. So also by a person, we're talking about payment. Okay. All right, very good. So by a person, we're talking about payment, not plopping. Pay, not plop. V'hoksiv, but the pasuk says, "V'ish kiyake kol nefesh adam mos yumos." Ho ho. But the pasuk says that if a fellow plops off another fellow's hand, mos yumos, we have. So Rashi says mos yumos, meaning we have to basically kill his hand. Plop it off. No, bimamun. Talking about money, not plopping. Mimayde bimamun. Ema b'misa mamish. No, maybe it doesn't mean money. Maybe it means plop. Lo sakadaitech. Nisht. Chada. Do iska shlemake. Behema yishamena. Well, first of all, we had that like Gzeir Shava a second ago, from which we said that we're talking about payment, not right, paying, not plopping. Ve'od ksiv. Basre. And also it says, after that, after what? I guess right after that, not right after, but a few psukim after the pasuk of V'ish ki yaka kol nefesh adam mos yumos, it says kasher yitein mum ba'adam ken yinosin bo. So it says kasher yitein, giving his money. Shmamina mamun. Okay. Friends, paying, not plopping. Okay? We pay, we don't plop. We had said, and if you have a problem with this, if you have a problem with Make behema, Make adam, so then I'll give you a different reason, and that was right? So how come I need a second reason? So Sukkah Kasha, the Tana, well, because the question is, well, why are we learning out from Make behema? Why are we saying, how do I know that that you pay, right? Pay don't plop. How do I know pay don't plop? Well, by a behema, by an animal, we pay. Why are we learning out people from animals? Amre done in where am I? Leilif maka adam. Why don't we learn out people from people? And just like by a person, if you we know that if you kill a person, we kill you. So let's say that if you plop off a person's hand, we plop off your hand. So I'm done in nizakin mi nizakin, vein done in nizakin mi misa. Well, by an animal, we're talking about damages, and by people, we're trying to figure out what's the halacha for damages. So it's the damages connection, but don't teach me. But by the people, all we know about currently is death. Don't teach me damages from death. Let's keep it about damages. Adraba done in adam mi adam, vein done in adam mi behema. I'll say fakert. I'll say that judge animals, judge people from people. Don't judge people from animals. So that is why we say, okay, you know what? If you have a hard time, it's maka adam, maka behema. So learn out from this other example. It says, don't take payment for the soul of a murderer. He must die. Kimos yumas, he must die. The nefesh rotzeach yata lokeach kofer. You don't take payment for a murderer. Aval ata lokeach kofer l'rosh evarim. But you do take payment for plopping. She'enon chozrin, for the limbs that don't come back. V'hai lo sikhu kofer the nefesh rotzeach lemute rosh evarim hu de'asa. But 1 second, is this pasuk coming to teach that pay don't plop? Haimi boile. We need that pasuk for what the pasuk says. Lo savid bei tarte, lo sishko mine mamon v'tiktele. Don't both kill him and take money, right? I mean, he says lo sikhu nefesh kofer the nefesh rotzeach asho rosh alamus, right? You kill him, don't take money. I.e., right, don't. If you're going to kill him, then he doesn't pay, right? It's one or the other, either payment or money, but not both. Hai mikdei rishaso nafka. We say, no, that you only punish him once, not both money and death, either money or death. So, and in this case, it's going to be death because he's a murderer. But that's not from a different pasuk. That's from learn out mikdei risho nafka. Risha achas ata mechayvo. You is chayv only for one evil thing that he did. Right? He doesn't get punished twice, only once, and therefore if he's getting killed, he's not going to pay money. But still, we need those sikhu kofer the nefesh rotzeach to teach us simply that by a murderer he can't pay his way out of it. Well, then it could just say don't accept payment for he needs to die. The nefesh rotzeach lamali. Why do I need this extra words? The nefesh rotzeach, the davka for rotzeach. Shmamina teaches the nefesh rotzeach yata lokeach kofer that you don't accept payment davka for a murderer. Avalata lokeach kofer the rosh evarim, but you do accept payment for plopping. She'enon chozrin, for these limbs that won't come back. V'chem yachad d'chsiv lo sikhu kofer make lamali. Well then, if we have lo sikhu kofer, right? If we have the pasuk to say, okay, there's no payment for killing, but there is payment for plopping. So then, why do I need the first one, right? So if we say that we have the second reason that we learn out pay for plop, right? Pay not plop. So then, why do I need that initial gezer shav at all? So I'm going to say ime hai. If I would only have the second reason, havamina ibai eno nesiv ibai dmei eno nesiv. Well, I might think, look, you have a choice: pay or plop. So no, just like by an animal, we're talking about paying. So also by plopping off somebody's hand, you pay, you don't plop. Friends, I gotta run. I got a call coming up, and I gotta pick up a few things before then. So I'm gonna run. I hope you enjoyed Daf Pei Gimel. Shalom.